Serbian influencer pumasok sa yungib ng isang oso.
Nakaligtas kaya ang lalaki at paano nga ba siya nagpunta sa yungib ng oso? Aalamin natin yan mula sa mga detalye ng balitang ibabahagi maya-maya. Magandang gabi, ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores, ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para naman sa mga headlines ngayong Lunes ng gabi.
Dismissed Bamban Mayor Alice Co nilipat na sa Pasig City Jail Female Dormitory.
Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. pirmado ng Magna Carta o Filipino Seafarers.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky nanawagan ng kapayapaan sa kanyang pagbisita sa Estados Unidos.
Manhunt para sa mga suspect sa Alabama mass shooting nagpapatuloy pa rin.
At US Coast Guard muling iniimbestigahan ang paglubog ng Titan submersible. Inilipat na sa Pasig City Jail Female Dormitory si dismissed Bamban Mayor Alice Co mula sa Camp Crame.
Ayon kay Bureau of Jail Management and Penology spokesperson Jail Superintendent J. Rex Bustinera, bandang 9:33 ng umaga ng opisyal na naihabilin sa kulungan ang dating alkalde. Nakikihati sana si Go sa iba pang 44 na inmates na dinisenyo para maka-accommodate ng siyam na detainee. Pero inihayag ni Bustinera ayon sa medical findings ng Philippine National Police o ng PNP kay Go, may lung infection umano ang dating alkalde. Tiniyak naman ni Bustinera na walang VIP treatment na ibibigay kay Go. Dahil rito, tutuloy si Go sa isang selda kung saan naka-isolate ang 3 inmate na may tuberculosis.
Ang advice po na naming health service ay i-isolate siya. May kasama po siyang 3 doon na may tuberculosis case, pero ito po ay almost 1 month na nagagamutan and inassure naman ng ating doctor na hindi na ito nakakahawa, yung 3 na naka-isolate. So doon po siya ilalagay to protect din yung general population.
Samantala, base sa resulta ng pagsusuri kay Go, nagnegatibo siya sa sakit na TB. Plano naman ng PNP na maghain ng mosyon sa korte para tulungan ang hiling ng kampo ni Go na maibalik siya sa kanilang kustodiya. Ang paglipat kay Go sa kulungan ay sa pag-uutos ng Pasig City Regional Trial Court Branch 167 na may hawak sa pagdinig sa kaso ng dating alkalde na qualified human trafficking kung saan ito ay non-bailable.
Pirmado na ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers bilang isang ganap na batas sa isang ceremonial signing na ginanap sa Malacanang.
So today's signing of the Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers is our collective acknowledgement of these sacrifices. It is our way of telling our seafarers, we see you, we hear you, and we are here to support you.
Layo ng Republic Act No. 12021 na protektahan ang karapatan ng mga Filipino seafarers, kabilang ang karapatan nila para sa terms and conditions of work, right to self-organization and to collective bargaining at iba pa. Nililinaw din ng naturang batas ang detalye sa right to safe passage and safe travel, consultation, free legal representation, immediate medical attention at patas na pagtrato sa oras ng isang maritime incident. Ayon pa kay Senate President Francis Escudero, inaasahang makikinabang sa batas ang higit sa 250,000 Filipino seafarers.
Nakatakdang aprubahan ng mababang kapulungan ng Kongreso ang 6.352 trillion pesos proposed national budget para sa susunod na taon ngayong linggo sa oras na aprubahan ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. ang 2025 General Appropriations Bill. Tinukoy ni House Majority Leader at Zamboanga City Representative Manuel Dalipe na kayang maaprubahan ang proposed 2025 budget sa ikalawa at ikatlong pagbasa sa parehong araw. Plano kasi ng Kamara na tapusin ito sa araw ng Miyerkules o Setyembre 25 o kaya ay pagkatapos ng 2 linggo ng plenary debates bago mag-recess ang Kongreso sa katapusan ng buwan. Batay sa projection ng Department of Budget and Management o DBM, ang proposed budget para sa susunod na taon ay may mataas na 10.1% kaysa sa 5.768 trillion pesos na kasalukuyang national budget ng gobyerno.
Nasimulan na po ang 2 araw na tigil pasada ng transport groups na Manibela at Piston ngayong araw. Subalit, hindi naman tuluyang naparilsa ang biyahe sa Maynila. Karamihan sa mga drivers ng pampasaherong jeepney sa Maynila ang bumiyahe. Normal naman po ang naging sitwasyon sa biyaheng Leon Ginto, Guadalupe. At ayon sa transport groups, aabot sa 70,000 ang inaasahang makikiisa sa kanilang nationwide transport strike. May 11 lugar na pagtitipunan ng grupong Piston kabilang ang Novaliches, Cubao, Montalban, Anonas at Rodriguez, Rizal, ayon po yan mismo kay Piston President Modi Floranda. Kasama rin ang Santa Mesa sa Maynila, Pasig, Pedro Hill, Monumento, Baclaran, Pasay, Sucat, Parañaque, Bikutan at Taguig. Samantala, handog naman ang Land Transportation, Franchising and Regulatory Board ang libreng sakay para umalalay sa mga pasaherong maaapektuhan ng tigil pasada. Ayon kay LTFRB Chairperson Chofilo Guadis III, lumapit sila sa mga lokal na pamahalaan para dito. Nakiusap naman si Guadis sa mga nagpoprotesta na huwag maging dahilan na mabigat na daloy ng trapiko ang kanilang isinasagawang demonstrasyon.
Ayon sa Department of Budget and Management o DBM, naglaan ng pamahalaan ang kabuuang 8.8 billion pesos para sa Grants in Aid o GIA program ng Department of Science and Technology. Ayon sa DBM, layunin ng pondong ito na suportahan ang pagpapatuloy ng iba't ibang programa sa science, technology at innovation. Sa isang pahayag, sinabi ni Pangulong Ferdinand Marcos Jr. na ang GIA program ay naglalayong buhayin ng ekonomiya sa pamamagitan ng masusing aplikasyon ng science at technology. Binigyan din ni Marcos ang pangangailangang pabilisin ang paggamit ng kaalaman bilang mga kasangkapan, hindi lamang sa pagunlad ng ekonomiya, kundi pati na rin sa progreso ng lipunan. Kinumpirma rin ni Pangulong Marcos ang layunin ng kanyang administrasyon na gawing regional hub ang Pilipinas para sa smart at sustainable manufacturing at innovation.
Iniulat ng Department of Environment and Natural Resources o DENR na nakapagtala ang Pilipinas ng mga bagong records sa ginanap na international coastal cleanup nitong mga nakarang araw. Ayon sa DENR, umabot sa himigit kumulang 74,000 voluntaryo mula sa halos 2,000 organisasyon ang lumahok sa naturang aktibidad. Ito ay higit na mataas kumpara sa 35,000 kalahok noong nakaraang taon. Idinagdag ng ahensyang layunin ng coastal cleanup na itaas ang kaalaman ng mga mamamayan ukol sa epekto ng polusyon sa plastik sa dagat at mga ecosystem. Mahigit naman sa 350,000 kilong plastik at iba pang basura ang nakolekta sa cleanup. Ito ay isang mahalagang tagumpay na nagpapatibay sa pangako ng bansa sa kalinisan ng baybayin at pangangalaga sa kalikasan.
Inanunsyo ng Philippine Fleet o PF na dumating na sa Pilipinas ang 2 Fast Attack Interdiction Craft o FAIC na mula sa Israel. Ayon kay PF spokesperson Lieutenant Giovanni Badidles, ang mga karagdagang FAIC ay mga Aero-class patrol vessels. Anya, ang mga barkong ito ay may advanced missile systems at sophisticated onboard technology at makatutulong ang mga ito sa mabilis at epektibong maritime operations ng Pilipinas.
Aprobado na sa Senado ang Senate Bill numbers o SBN 2415, 2451 at maging ang 2804, gayon din ang ilang resolusyon ukol sa Free Trade Agreement ng Pilipinas at ng bansang South Korea. Ipinunto ng Senado ang kahalagahan ng SBN 2415 dahil layon umano nitong gumawa ng value-added tax refund mechanism para sa mga non-resident tourists sa Pilipinas. Anila ang mekanismong ito ay makatutulong na mapalakas ang turismo sa bansa dahil maiengganyo ang mga turistang bumili ng maraming produkto ng mga Pinoy na kalaunan ay dadalhin nila palabas ng Pilipinas.
Matapos naman ang 2 linggong rollback, ay asahan ang dagdag sa presyo ng oil products bukas, September 24. Batay sa advisories ng oil industry firms, itataas nila ng piso at 10 sentimos ang presyo ng kada litro ng gasolina. 20 sentimos naman ang hike sa presyo kada litro ng diesel. Samantalang walang paggalaw sa presyo ng kada litro ng kerosene. Susunod, Estados Unidos naghahanda ng $567 million security grant para sa Taiwan.
Mga pro at anti-government protesters ng Bolivia nagkaengkwentro.
At Hezbollah inilunsad ang pinakamalaking pag-atake laban sa Israel. Yan at iba pang mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by 318 Automart. May init na issue at malalim na talakayan.
Wala namang scandals, wala namang corruption issue or anything of that magnitude to warrant a change in leadership.
Ang news commentary show na matapang at may paninindigan.
Ito nga yung may Chinese mafia, nakakakuha ng mga authentic na Filipino birth certificate. Well, ako because nga sabi ko, ibabalance mo lang naman yan eh. So, maging mas stricto lang tayo, siguro taasan natin yung ante.
Ano sa palagay nyo? Monday to Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
Mula sa Net25 News, ako po si Alex Santos.
At ako naman po si Ali Soto.
Matatag, matapang at matapat na balitaan.
Yan ang aming ihahatid Lunes hanggang Biyernes.
Alas 6 hanggang alas 7:30 ng gabi.
Mata
ng Agila Prime Time. Dito sa Net25.
Let's get together sa Net 25. Sa Net 25.
This portion is brought to you by Robic Builders.
Patay ang 7 katao sa Noto, Japan dahil sa matinding pagbaha roon. Kabilang sa mga namatay ay isang tao na nagtatrabaho sa quake reconstruction at ayon sa otoridad, may 2 tao pa na nawawala pa rin. Ang naitalang hourly rainfall sa Wajima City ay 121 millimeters, habang ang kalapit na syudad ng Suzu ay nakatanggap ng 84.5 millimeters na ulan sa loob lamang ng 1 oras. Agad na nagpadala si Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi ng mga tauhan na militar, mga pulis at mga bumbero sa Noto at mga karatig lugar nito para magsagawa ng rescue missions.
Sa kanyang talumpati sa United Nations Summit of the Future, iginiit ni Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida ang importansya ng nuclear disarmament at international rule of law na 2 issue na dapat tugunan. Narito ang report ni Anna Cui.
Ang bansang Japan lamang ang nagdanas ng atake ng atomic bomb at matagal nang itinatakwil nito ang armas nuklear. Ito ay habang umaasa sa Estados Unidos na harangan ang potensyal ng mga kalaban na nuclear-armed tulad ng China, North Korea, and Russia. Noong linggo sa harap ng mga leader ng UN member states, sinabi ni Prime Minister Fumio Kishida ng Japan na sa kabila ng mga pagsubok upang gawing nuclear weapon-free ang mundo, hindi dapat huminto sa paggamit nito.
第一に、法の支配を貫徹することです。国連憲章の諸原則は我々の行動の根本的な指針です。力による一方的な現状変更の試みは世界のどこであれ許されません。法の支配に基づく自由で開かれた国際秩序こそが持続可能な開発を可能とし、繁栄をもたらすことができます。
Noong linggo, matapos ang 9 na buwang negosasyon, inadapt ni UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres ang Pact for the Future ng walang botohang naganap. Kasama sa kasunduan ang Global Digital Compact at ang Declaration on Future Generations. Ayon kay Kishida, hindi maaaring konsintihin ang pagtatangkang unilateral upang baguhin ang status quo saan mang lugar sa mundo.
第4に核軍縮不拡散です。核軍縮をめぐる情勢は一層厳しさを増しています。しかし、核兵器のない世界への道のりがいかに厳しいものであったとしても、我々はその歩みを止めるわけにはいきません。今般立ち上げる FMCT フレンズを含め、核兵器のない世界に向けた現実的かつ実践的な取り組みを推進してまいります。
Sa gitna ng nagaganap na giyera sa Ukraine, Gaza at Sudan, ang nahuhuling paglaban sa climate change, mga bansang nalulubog sa utang at sa pagsulong ng teknolohiya na walang pamamahala, iniisip ng marami kung ano nga ba ang silbi ng United Nations. Natutuon din ang focus ng marami sa pangangailangang ireporma ang mga institusyong pinansyal na pambuong mundo. Anak Hui para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Idineklara si Anura Kumara Dissanayake bilang panalo sa halalan sa pagkapangulo ng Sri Lanka. Si Dissanayake na isang Marxism-leaning na politiko ay nagwagi sa kanyang kampanya matapos niya makuha ang 42.31% ng mga boto. Sumunod naman ang pinuno ng oposisyon na si Sajit Premadasa na may 32.76% habang si outgoing President Ranil Wickremesinghe ay nagtamo ng 17.27% lamang. Si Dissanayake na 55 taong gulang ay pinuno ng People's Liberation Front Party at National People's Power Alliance. Ipinangako nito sa mga mamamayan ang mga programang pangkabuhayan upang mapagaan ang buhay ng mga tao sa Sri Lanka.
ඒ වගේම මේ අර්බුදය නිමා කිරීමේදී පොදු පුරවැසියන්ට සියලු ශේෂ්ත්‍රවල රැකිසාල වගකීමක් තිබෙනවා. මා හැම දෙනාගේම සහාය අපේක්ෂා කරන ඒ වගකීම ඉටු කිරීම වෙනුවෙන්. නමුත් අප තේරුම් අරන් තිබෙනවා රටේ ජනාධිපතිවරයා ලෙස මේ කාර්ය මෙහෙයවීමේදී ප්‍රමුඛතම හා ප්‍රධානතම වගකීමක් මා සතු තිබෙන බව.
Haharapin din ni Dissanayake ang isang krisis pang-ekonomiya at isang kasunduan sa IMF para makakuha ng mga pondo. Pinaplano niyang baguhin ang mga kondisyon nito.
Inihahanda na ng U.S. Defense Department ang mahigit $567 million security aid para sa Taiwan. Batay sa inilabas na report ng Pentagon, naaprubahan na ang naturang halaga at naghihintay na lamang ng lagda ni U.S. President Joe Biden. Nakapaloob sa mahigit kalahating bilyong security package ang military drones, anti-armor weapons, military stockpiles, air defense at multi-domain awareness. Kalakip din dito ang training para sa paggamit sa mga ito. Ang naturang military deal ay maliban pa sa $228 million aircraft spare parts na inanunsyo ng Pentagon ngayong linggo. Noong buwan ng Abril, inaprubahan ng U.S. Congress ang nagkakahalaga ng 1.9 billion arms stocks sa mga bansa sa Indo-Pacific kung saan pinakamalaki rito ay mapupunta sa Taiwan. Sa ilalim ng pamumuno ni U.S. President Joe Biden, 16 na beses nang naglabas ito ng arms deal para sa Taiwan.
We believe Xi Jinping is looking to focus on domestic economic challenges and minimize the turbulence in China diplomatic relationships, and he's also looking to buy himself some diplomatic space, in my view, to aggressively pursue China's interest. China continues to behave aggressively, testing us all across the region, and it's true in the South China Sea, the East China Sea, South Asia, and the Taiwan Straits. And it's true across the scope of our relationship, including on economic and technology issues. At the same time, we believe intense competition requires intense diplomacy. I spoke.
Dumating si Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky sa Estados Unidos itong linggo upang dumalo sa mga pulong ng UN General Assembly. Nanawagan si President Zelensky sa kanyang mga kaalyadong magtulungan para makamit ang tagumpay at tunay na makatarungang kapayapaan para sa Ukraine.
Саме цієї осені вирішується, що буде далі у цій війні разом з партнерами можемо посилити наші позиції, як потрібно для нашої перемоги. Спільної перемоги для дійсно справедливого миру.
Sinabi niyang ginagawa ng Kyiv ang lahat ng kanilang makakaya sa pamamagitan ng pagkuha ng mga armas at pagtutulak sa Russia patungo sa diplomasya at kapayapaan. Bumisita rin si Zelensky sa isang munitions plant sa Scranton, Pennsylvania nang hindi inaasahan upang makita ang pabrika na tumutulong sa paggawa ng mahahalagang artillery shells para sa kanilang digmaan. Naging prioridad ng Kyiv ang ammunition stocks nito upang mapigilan nila ang pagpuntirya ng Russia sa kanilang energy grid dahil ang mga kritikal na buwan ng taglamig ay papalapit na.
Nagkaroon ng sagupaan ang mga pro-government supporters at mga taga-suporta ni dating President Evo Morales sa Bolivia nitong linggo. Naghagis ang mga realista ng mga paputok, improvised explosives at mga bato sa isa't isa sa lungsod ng El Alto. Samantalang nagpakawala ng tear gas ang kapulisan upang pakalmahin ang kaguluhan sa pagitan ng dalawang kampo. Ayon sa Ministry of Health ng Bolivia, 8 ang naiulat na nasugatan sa engkwentro. Nagsimula ang kaguluhan dahil sa isang agawan sa pwesto ni Morales at ng kasalukuyang presidenteng si Luis Arce sa kanilang partido na Movement for Socialism. Sa mga nakalipas na buwan, ang kanilang alitan ay nagdulot ng pagparalisa sa gobyerno, pagkaubos ng foreign exchange reserves ng Bolivia at pagsiklab ng mga protesta sa kalsada. Parehong inakusahan ng magkabilang panig ang isa't isa dahil sa mga karahasan na nangyayari sa bansa. At mukhang hindi pa ito matatapos dahil ipinangako na ni Morales at ng kanyang mga taga-suporta na ipagpapatuloy ang kanilang tinatawag na March to Save Bolivia.
Nagbabala si United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres na ang pager blasts na tumatarget sa militant group na Hezbollah ay hudyat ng seryosong peligro ng isang dramatic escalation sa Lebanon. Anya, kailangan gawin ang lahat upang maiwasan ang ganitong eskalasyon ng gulo. Narito po si Pearl Rogacion para sa detalye ng balita.
Sa taunang briefing ni UN Chief Antonio Guterres sa press bago ang General Assembly, sinabi nito ang pagpapasabog ng mga aparato tulad ng pagers ay bilang paumpisang pag-atake bago ang malakihang operasyong militar.
And I think that what has happened is particularly serious, not only because of the number of victims that it caused, but because of the indications that exist that this was triggered, I would say, in advance of the normal way to trigger these things, because there was a risk of this being discovered. Because obviously, the logic of making all these devices explode is to do it as a preemptive strike before a major military operation. So, as important as the event in itself is the indication that this event confirms that there is a serious risk of a dramatic escalation in Lebanon, and everything must be done to avoid that escalation.
Binanggit din ni Guterres ang Gaza, Sudan at ang kahalagahan ng pag-update ng mga institusyong pangbuong mundo upang humarap sa mga pagsubok ng 21st century.
We cannot know precisely what the future holds, but we don't need a crystal ball to see that 21st century challenges require problem-solving mechanisms that are more effective, networked, and inclusive. That serious power imbalances in global institutions must be adjusted and updated, and that our institutions must draw on the expertise and representation of all of humanity. Change will not happen overnight, but it can start today.
Mag-uumpisa ang UN General Assembly sa darating na linggo. Ngayong taon, haharap sa General Assembly ang may 87 pinuno ng mga estado, 3 presidente, 2 crown princes, 45 pinuno ng gobyerno, 45 ministro at 4 na low-ranked na hepe ng isang delegasyon. Pearl Rogacion para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sumigting pa ngayon ang palitan ng pag-atake sa pagitan ng militanteng Hezbollah at Israel. Matapos ang serye ng mga pagsabog sa magkasunod na araw sa Lebanon na nag-iwan ng 37 nasawi at libu-libong sugatan, naglunsad na rin ang militanteng grupong Hezbollah ng 17 pag-atake sa loob lamang ng isang araw laban sa mga sundalo ng Israel at nagpakawala rin ng halos 100 rocket papunta sa rehiyon ng Northern Israel. Ito na ang pinakamalaking operasyong ikinasa ng grupo mula noong Hunyo. Kabilang sa pinunterya ng kanilang rocket salvos ang mga base militar ng Israel sa Liman, Adamit, Shomera, Matat at ang headquarters ng 810th Hermon Brigade sa Maale, Golani Barracks. Tinarget din ng militanteng grupo ang artillery positions ng Israeli military sa Beit Hillel gamit ang drones na pinunterya o napunterya ang lokasyon ng mga opisyal at sundalo at tinamaan rin ang bagong tatag na command post para sa Western Brigade sa Yara Settlement at iba pang military sites sa Israel. Kasabay ito ng pagdeklara ni Hezbollah Deputy Leader Naim Qassem na silang magsisimula ng isang open-ended battle laban sa Israel.
لقد دخلنا في مرحلة جديدة عنوانها معركة الحساب المفتوح نتابع فيها جبهة الإسناد والمواجهة ومن خارج الصندوق بين الحين والآخر نقتلهم ونقاتلهم من حيث يحتسبون ومن حيث لا يحتسبون.
Ayon din sa opisyal na pahayagan ng Lebanon, tinamaan ng Israel ang timog na bahagi ng kanilang bansa ng 52 beses. Samantala, sa panig naman ng Israel, iniulat nito na tinamaan ng kanilang puwersa ang daan-daang target sa loob ng Lebanon, ilang oras matapos mangako ang Hezbollah leader na maghihiganti sila sa nangyaring mga pagpapasabog sa kanilang pager at walkie-talkie na ikinasawi naman ng kanilang mga miyembro. Ilang oras matapos ang pagbabanta ng Hezbollah leader, nagsagawa ng mga airstrike ang Israeli military sa halos 100 launchers at karagdagang terrorist infrastructure sites.
בימים האחרונים אנחנו הנחתנו על חיזבאללה רצף של מכות שהוא לא דמיין. ואם חיזבאללה לא הבין את המסר, אני מבטיח לכם, הוא יבין את המסר. אנחנו נחושים להחזיר את תושבינו בצפון בבטחה לבתיהם.
Sa isang televised address naman ay sinabi ni Netanyahu na handa raw silang ipaghiganti ang mga taong napuwersang lumikas mula sa Northern Israel dahil sa agresyon ng militanteng grupo. Idineklara naman ng Israeli military na wala silang balak tumigil hanggat sa hindi isoli ng Hamas at Hezbollah ang kanilang mga nadakip, madamay man ang mga sibilyan.
תקפנו בימים האחרונים מאות יעדי טרור בלבנון. היום, הבוקר, חיזבאללה ירה פעם נוספת לעבר הצפון. זהו ירי לעבר אזרחים. אף מדינה ריבונית לא יכולה לאפשר איום כזה על אזרחיה ועל ריבונותה. חיזבאללה ממקם את המשגרים שלו בסמוך לאזרחים לבנונים, בכך הוא מסכן אותם. אנחנו נעשה את כל מה שנדרש להסיר ולסכל איומים לעבר מדינת ישראל. אנחנו נחזיר את התושבים בביטחון לבתיהם. ואם חיזבאללה עדיין לא הבין את זה, גם אחרי השבועיים האחרונים הוא יקבל עוד מכה ועוד מכה עד שהארגון...
Nagtulumpati rin si Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau sa United Nations Summit of the Future nitong linggo. Binigyan diin ito ang global inflection point na minarkahan ng tumitinding instability, climate change at ang lumalawak na kawalan ng pagkakapantay-pantay. Nagbabalik po si Pearl Rugacion para sa balita.
Binigyang diin ni Prime Minister Justin Trudeau ng Canada na kailangan ng kolektibong responsibilidad ng mga bansa. Hinikayat nito ang UN member nations na isantabi ang pagkakaiba-iba at harapin ang pambuong mundong mga pagsubok.
We're at a global inflection point. Faced with escalating instability undermining the very foundations of the international order, beset by the increasingly dire costs of climate change, contending with rising inequality that is leaving the most vulnerable behind, plagued by the erosion of women's rights, LGBT+ rights, and indigenous rights, and grappling with dire humanitarian crises perpetuating record levels of displacement, we have a choice. On the one hand, we can bury our heads in the sand, eschewing multilateralism in favor of short-sighted self-interest, or we can recognize that collectively we have a responsibility to set our differences aside, to confront the serious global challenges.
Nanawagan si Trudeau para sa panibagong pangako sa multilateralismo at sa 2030 Sustainable Development Goals upang lalong mapagsilbihan ang mga mamamayan sa buong mundo.
Si on veut bien servir ses propres citoyens, on doit s'attaquer ensemble aux grands défis mondiaux. Il faut travailler au sein des institutions comme les Nations Unies et renouveler notre engagement à l'égard du programme de développement durable à l'horizon 2030.
Araw na summit na tatagal hanggang sa 23 ng Setyembre ay bago magsimula ang General Assembly General Debate sa Martes. Pearl Rugasyon para sa mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Sa Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute's 47th Annual Leadership Conference, kinundina ni U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris ang planong mass deportations ng kampo ni Republican U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump. Nagbabalik si Anna Cui para sa balita.
Sa kanyang talumpati, binigyang diin ni Vice President Kamala Harris ang mga plano nitong tugunan ang kakulangan sa pabahay sa bansa. Ito ay sa paraang pagtatayo ng milyon-milyong bagong mga bahay at ang pagkakaloob ng $25,000 na down payment assistance sa first-time home buyers.
We don't have enough housing in our country. The supply is too low and it's too expensive, both for renters and for folks who want to buy a home. So we will build together millions of new homes and give first-time home buyers $25,000 in down payment assistance.
Pinanggit din ni Harris ang pangangailangang baguhin ang sistema ng imigrasyon at protektahan ang Dreamers. Samantala, kinondena ng Vice Presidente sina dating Pangulong Donald Trump at anyay extremist allies nito dahil sa planong pinakamalaking deportasyon sa kasaysayan ng Amerika.
And together, CHC, we must also reform our broken immigration system and protect our Dreamers. And understand we can do both, create an earned pathway to citizenship and ensure our border is secure. We can do both, and we must do both. And while we fight to move our nation forward to a brighter future, Donald Trump and his extremist allies will keep trying to pull us backward. We all remember what they did to tear families apart. And now they have pledged to carry out the largest deportation, a mass deportation in American history. Imagine what that would look like and what that would be. How's that going to happen? Massive raids? Massive detention camps? What are they talking about?
Pinatamaan din ni Harris si Trump sa tugon nito noong debate kung saan binanggit nito ang konsepto ng plano ukol sa mga pagbabago sa tuntunin ng Affordable Care Act.
They would cut Social Security and Medicare. They intend to end the Affordable Care Act and threaten the health care of more than 5 million Latinos in our country. All based on, I'm sure many of you saw the debate, on that point about the Affordable Care Act, all based on concepts of a plan. Concepts.
Nanawagan si Harris para sa pagkakaisa laban sa politika ng dibisyon at pagkamuhi. Inakit niya ang mga tagapakinig na gamitin ng mga ito ang kapangyarihan at aktivismo upang lumabas at bumoto sa darating na eleksyon.
And I truly believe that America is ready to turn the page on the politics of division and hate. And to do it, our nation is counting on the leaders here your power, your activism. And so I thank you in advance for your work to register people to vote and get people to the polls. Each of us has a job to do. As we celebrate this month, we know we stand on broad shoulders of people before us who have passed us now the baton.
Anakwi para sa mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Nagbigay ng talumpati si Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi sa komunidad ng mga Indian sa Estados Unidos itong linggo bago ang eleksyon sa pagkapangulo sa Nobyembre 5. Nagsalita si Prime Minister Modi sa harap ng mga Indian Americans sa isang coliseum sa New York. Binigyan din niya ang kahalagahan ng demokrasya at ang kapangyarihan ng bilang ng mga Indian Americans sa kanyang talumpati.
अमेरिका दुनिया के लिए AI का मतलब है आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, लेकिन मैं मानता हूं कि AI का मतलब है अमेरिकन इंडियन अमेरिका इंडिया ये स्पिरिट है और वही तो नई दुनिया का AI पावर है। यही AI स्पिरिट भारत अमेरिका रिश्तों को नई ऊंचाई दे रहा है। मैं आप सभी को, इंडियन डायस्पोरा को सैल्यूट करता हूं।
Ayon sa datos ng US Census noong taong 2020, may humigit kumulang na 4.5 million na katao sa bansa ang nagpakilalang may lahing Indian. Sa kabilang banda, hindi siya nagbigay ng partikular na pahayag tungkol sa labanan sa pagitan ni na Republican candidate Donald Trump at Democratic candidate Kamala Harris. Nauna nang sinabi ni Donald Trump na makikipagkita siya kay Modi ngayong linggo habang nahaharap ito sa isang mahigpit na karera laban kay Harris na may lahing Indian.
Noong linggo sa pagsisimula ng Summit of the Future, nagbabala sa United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres na patungo na sa pagkadiskaril ang mundo at kailangan gumawa na ng matitibay na desisyon upang ibalik ito sa tamang landas. Sa pagbubukas ng 2 araw ng Summit of the Future ngayong 22 hanggang 23 ng Setyembre, sinabi ni UN Chief Antonio Guterres na kailangang ibalik ang multilateralismo mula sa panganib. Anya, ang summit na ito na ginaganap ngayon bago ang General Assembly debate sa Martes ay para makaisip ng mga pagbabago upang gawing mas lehitimo, patas at epektibo ang mga institusyong pandaigdigan.
Mr. President of the General Assembly, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Summit of the Future. I thank the co-facilitators, the former and current presidents of the General Assembly and all member states for their strong engagement, creativity and spirit of compromise, and all my colleagues for their invaluable efforts over the past 3 years. We are here to bring multilateralism back from the brink. I called for this summit to consider deep reforms to make global institutions more legitimate, fair and effective based on the values of the UN Charter. I called for this summit because 21st century challenges require 21st century solutions, frameworks that are networked and inclusive and that draw on the expertise of all of humanity. I called for this summit because our world is heading off the rails and we need tough decisions to get back on track.
Sa kasalukuyan, pinag-uusapan ng UN member states ang 3 dokumentong inaasahang tatanggapin ng Konseho. Ang mga ito ay Pact for the Future, a Declaration on Future Generations at Global Digital Compact. Ipinaglalaban ni Guterres ang mga pagbabago sa 15-member UN Security Council, sa World Bank at sa International Monetary Fund. Gayon din ang global governance ng artificial intelligence at iba pang mga nakaambang mga pagsubok. Inaasahang magsasalita sa summit ang mga lider at mga kinatawan mula sa 150 mga bansa.
Susunod, 51 patay matapos sumabog ang isang coal mine sa Iran.
TikTok, binura na rin ang accounts ng RT at Sputnik Media Network.
At Squid Game 2, naglabas na ng mga bagong detalye at petsa ng premiere. Mga detalye ng mga balita sa pagbabalik ng Mata ng Agila International.
This portion is brought to you by North Luzon Express Terminal.
Alam namin ang iyong pagsisikap. Dama namin ang iyong mga sakripisyo. Kita namin ang pagharap mo sa bawat pagsubok. Kaya sa kabila ng mga hamon ng buhay, nandito kami para umalalay. Kasi katulad mo, gusto rin namin ang magandang bukas para sa kanya. Hatid namin ang dekalidad na edukasyon at makabagong pasilidad sa abot kayang halaga. Kaya huwag ka na mangamba. Sasamahan ka namin tuparin ang mga pangarap niya. Maaasahan mong sulit dito ang mga pinagsikapan mo. Sa aming mga makabagong pasilidad at sistema ng edukasyon. Ilalabas natin ang aking talino at mga kakayahan niya. Kahit sa munting halaga, makakasiguro ka na makakasabay siya sa mabilis na pag-ikot ng mundo. Sa New Era, karamay mo kami sa bawat hamon. Kaagapay mo kami sa bawat hakbang. Kasama mo kami sa bawat ngiti at tagumpay.
Patay ang nasa 51 katao sa Iran. Ito ay matapos mag-leak ng gas na naging dahilan ng pagsabog. Ayon sa mga otoridad, aabot sa 69 na trabahador sa hanay ng Block B at C ang nasa loob ng minahan nang mangyari ang insidente. Dagdag pa rito ang higit sa 20 taong sugatan na ngayon ay nagpapagaling sa ospital. Pinahanap naman ang nasa 24 na katao sa posibleng nakulong sa loob ng minahan. Sinabi ng mga opisyal sa lugar na inaasahan nila na madaragdagan pa ang bilang ng mga nasawi mula sa matinding pagsabog. Samantala, lumalabas sa investigasyon na nagsimula ito sa tumagas ng methane gas na umabot naman sa minahan ng uling.
Iniulat ng mga otoridad na wala pang naarestong suspect matapos ang isang mass shooting sa Alabama, USA na ikinasawi ng 4 na katao at nag-iwan naman ng 17 sugatan. Nangyari ang pamamaril noong Sabado ng gabi sa isang tanyag ng entertainment district sa Birmingham, Alabama. Inilarawan ng pulisya ang insidente bilang isang planadong pag-atake ng maraming suspect na nagpaputok sa labas ng isang kilalang entertainment district ng estado.
We believe the individual that was targeted is among the deceased. We believe that there was a hit, if you will, on that particular person, as far as, someone was willing to pay money to have that person killed. We just have that information from some of the information we've learned in the last few hours of investigation. I mean, that could change, but that's where we're at right now.
Sinabi ni Birmingham Mayor Randall Woodfin na ang prioridad ngayon ay mahuli ang mga sangkot sa krimen at maibalik ang seguridad sa nasabing syudad. Plano rin niyang magdaos na isang kumperensya upang magbigay ng mga updates ukol sa kaso. Ang mass shooting na ito ay isa lamang sa ilang kaparehong insidente ngayong taon sa lungsod na ikinababahala na ng mga residente. Umapila ang mga residente na maresolba kaagad ang krimen at matugunan ang mas malawak na problema ng gun violence sa bansa.
Pinasok at pinagnakawan ng hindi bababa sa 50 mga batang kawatan ng isang 7-Eleven store sa California. Batay sa lokal na ulat, bago ang pagnanakaw ay dumating ang grupo sakay ng bisikleta. Kita sa video ang aktual na pagpasok ng mga kawatan sa store. Pinaniniwala ang nasa pagitan ng 12 at 15 anyos ang mga nasabing kawatan. Ayon sa outlet, ito na ang pangalawang beses na ninakawan ng grupo ang parehong tindahan. Wala namang napaulat na nasaktan sa insidente. Samantala, nagsagawa na ng criminal investigation ang mga otoridad sa naging nakawan.
Isang makapigil hiningang karanasan ang naganap sa isang Serbian influencer matapos aksidenteng pumasok ito sa yungib ng isang oso. Batay po sa salaysay ni Stefana Jankovic, ilang oras na gumala ito sa gubat nang pumasok siya sa akala niyang isang ordinaryong kuweba. Matapos ang ilang minuto ay may dumungaw na isang oso sa labasan ng kuweba. Dito na niya napagtanto na yungib pala ito ng isang mapanganib na oso. Dahan-dahan at kalmadong lumabas si Stefan mula sa kuweba hanggang sa makarating na ito sa isang ligtas na lugar. Kaagad ito umakyat sa isang mataas na puno para makaiwas sa anumang pag-atake ng oso. At naging viral naman ang video ni Stefan nang nag-upload na ito sa Instagram. Inaasahang dadalo sa pagdinig ng US Coast Guard ang co-founder ng Ocean Gate na si Guillermo Solane. Tetestigo rin sa former Ocean Gate Engineering Director Phil Brooks at Troy Thomas ng American Bureau of Shipping. Ang pagdinig na ito ay bahagi ng investigasyon ng US Coast Guard ukol sa Titan submersible na papaloob na sumabog sa ilalim ng karagatan ng North Atlantic. Sinabi naman ni Jason Neubauer, Marine Board of Investigation ng US Coast Guard, nasa loob ng 15 buwan ay nakipagtulungan sila sa federal agencies, international partners at mga experts sa industriya upang alamin ang katotohanan kung bakit nangyari ang trahedyang nabanggit na nakaapekto hindi lamang sa mga pamilya ng biktima ng Titan sub, kung hindi maging sa maritime community.
The upcoming hearings will allow us to present our findings and hear directly from key witnesses and subject matter experts in a transparent form. These proceedings are not just a formality. They are a critical step in our mission to understand the contributing factors that led to the incident, and even more importantly, the actions needed to prevent a similar occurrence. The board is absolutely committed to identifying those safety gaps and recommending improvements so that no family will have to endure such a loss again.
Ibinunyagi daring Ocean Gate Operations Director David Lockridges na ang mga naunang pagdinig na madalas siyang makipag-away sa may-ari ng Titan na si Stockton Rush ay dahil tila nakatuon lamang ito sa commercial side ng Titan submersible. Binanggit naman ni Neubauer na aalamin nila kung may misconduct o negligence na nagawa ang mga sangkot sa insidente at kung mayroong paglabag ay gagawa sila ng rekomendasyon sa Department of Justice. Anila, ito ay upang matiyak na hindi na mauulit ang trahedya ng Titan submersible. Ang Titan submersible implosion tragedy ay naganap noong June 18, 2023. 5 katao ang nasawi sa aksidenteng ito nang sumakay sila sa Titan sub at pumunta sa wreckage ng Titanic. Binura ng video sharing platform na TikTok ang mga accounts ng RT at iba pang branch ng Sputnik Media Network. Kasunod ito ng pagdeklara ng Estados Unidos ng panibagong sanctions laban sa mga Russian outlets. Nitong Sabado ay naging inaccessible ang mga accounts ng RT International, Sputnik Serbia, Sputnik Afrique, Sputnik Africa, Sputnik International, Sputnik Brazil, Sputnik Mundo at Sputnik Indonesia. Hindi naman nagbigay ng komento ang TikTok hinggil sa naging issue. Dati nang inakusahan ng Washington na nagpapakasangkapan umano ang mga Russian channels para sirain ang demokrasya sa Estados Unidos. Sinabi rin ni U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken na ang RT ay hindi umano isang de facto arm ng Russian intelligence. Kasunod ito ng pag-ban ng Meta sa ilang Russian news networks dahil sa di umano'y foreign interference activities.
Pinabagsak ni Daniel Dubois sa loob ng ikalimang round ang kapwa British boxer na si Anthony Joshua. Dahil dito ay pinatunayan ni Dubois na hindi siya maituturing na accidental heavyweight boxer sa laban na ginanap sa Wembley Stadium. Noong nakaraang 3 buwan kasi ay nakuha nito ang IBF belt na binakante naman ni Alexander Usyk. 3 beses na pinabagsak ng 27 anyos na si Dubois si Joshua sa una, ikatlo at sa huli ay 59 na segundo bago matapos ang ikalimang round. Dahil sa pagbagsak ay nagpa siya ang corner ni Joshua na huwag nang ituloy ang laban. Malaki na rin ang tsansa ni Dubois na sumali sa mga listahan o listahan ng mga boksingero na lalaban sa sinumang manalo sa pagitan ni WBA, WBC, and WBO champion Usyk at Tyson Fury sa darating na Disyembre. Are you ready to play? Yan ang mga linya na nagbigay ng kaabang-abang na pasilip mula sa bagong teaser ng Korean series na Squid Game 2. Inaabangan na ng mga fans ang nakatakdang pagbabalik ng Squid Game para sa Season 2 nito na nakatakdang mapanood sa December 26. Iikot ang kwento ng Season 2 sa bidang si Song Gi-hoon na nanalo sa laro kung saan ay muli siyang sumali para o gamit ang kanyang original na Player 456 tracksuit. Nagsimula naman ang teaser trailer sa kinakabahang karakter ni Song Gi-hoon kung saan ay nakaharap niya ang frontman ng laro na si Lee Byung-hun. Dagdag pa rito ang eksena kung saan tinutukan niya ng baril ang isang masked figure. Samantala, inaabangan naman ang pagpasok ng mga bagong karakter na gaya ni Park Gyu-young, singer Jo Yuri, Kang Ai-sim at Lee David.
Napagdesisyonan po ngayon ng BAFTA na magdagdag ng 3 panibagong awards para sa kategorya ng Children's TV Program. Nakapaloob sa plano nila ang pagbibigay ng parangal sa usapin ng mga TV programs para sa mga bata at maging sa buong pamilya. Inaasahan nila na sa susunod na taon ay maipapasok na mga ito para sa rin sa mga iconic characters na minahal ng mga manonood. Kabilang sa mga bagong awards ay ang Children's Scripted Award na para naman sa mga scripted programs na kagaya ng drama, comedy, live action at animated. Kasama rin dito ang Children's Non-Scripted Award na naglalaman naman ng mga content na kagaya ng factual entertainment, documentaries at news. Sinundan pa ito ng Children's Craft Team Award para naman bigyang parangal ang mga grupo ng kabataan na nasa likod ng kamera. Samantala, ang 3 bagong awards ay nakafocus lamang para sa mga manonood ng TV na nasa 16 na taong gulang at pababa.
Bumisita si Britain Prince William sa Shelter Scotland Charity bilang bahagi ng pagbisita niya sa mga lugar na nangangalaga sa mga tao na walang tirahan. Nakipagkwentuhan ang prinsipe sa mga tauhan ng charity kasama na ang mga tao na nakatanggap ng tulong mula sa nasabing charity. Dagdag pa rito ay nakaharap din niya ang mga miyembro ng Homewards Project Team na nasa likod ng pagbuo ng blueprint ng gusali. Bahagi ang nasabing aktibidad ng proyekto at 5 taon na kampanya niya para sa mga tao na walang matirhan na kanyang inilunsad noong nakaraang taon. Kasabay ito ng pagtutulungan na nabuo sa pagitan ng Royal Foundation Program at Homeless Network Scotland. Samantala na itatag ang Shelter Scotland noong 1968 pa sa may pangunahing tunguhin na magbigay ng tirahan para sa mga taong walang matirhan.
At narito po kami para maghatid ng balita saan mang dako ng mundo. Muli ako po si Rikki Mathay.
Ako si Rikki Alagao Flores, ito ang Mata ng Agila International. Para sa mga balitang nangyari sa iba't ibang panig ng mundo, punta naman tayo kay Alma para sa Mata ng Agila World News. Take it away, Alma.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma and welcome to Net 25 World News. On tonight's headlines.
Tensions in the Middle East are reaching dangerous new heights as the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah escalates, with both sides launching attacks and issuing threats of further violence.
I want to repeat, move out of harm's way immediately.
The news starts now.
Torrential rains in Ishikawa Prefecture, Japan, have led to widespread flooding and landslides, resulting in the tragic loss of 6 lives. 2 individuals remain missing. A landslide struck a tunnel in Wajima City, where rescue teams managed to save 10 people. Sadly, 2 of those rescued were later found deceased. In Wajima, 2 women were also killed in separate landslides, and a man drowned in a river. In Suzu City, a home was engulfed by a landslide, claiming 1 life. 2 others were swept away by rivers and are currently unaccounted for. The flooding has forced many rivers to overflow their banks, inundating homes and businesses. A local father, meanwhile, is desperately searching for his daughter, who was alone at home when the disaster struck. Wajima, which suffered significant damage in a New Year's Day earthquake, is now facing the added devastation of flooding. Temporary housing for earthquake survivors has been affected, with some units being inundated.
昨日はちょっとここ水入ったぐらいですかね。でもやっぱそこの隙間とかから水入ってきて。
The Japan Meteorological Agency reported an astonishing 500 millimeters of rain in Wajima and nearly 400 millimeters in Suzu City over a 3-day period. Now, these figures are far above the average for September and represent the highest rainfall recorded in the region since records began. Now, while the heavy rain emergency warning has been downgraded for parts of Ishikawa, authorities continue to urge residents to remain vigilant for potential floods and landslides.
Villagers living in Erzsakcsanad, 180 kilometers south of the capital Budapest, were navigating flooded neighborhoods with boats. The peak of the flood appeared to have been reached at the weekend, moving south downriver to Serbian and Croatian localities. The Danube River was expected to peak at or slightly above 8.5 meters in Budapest, near record levels but still below those seen in 2013. This past week has seen floods wreak havoc across Central Europe, leaving a trail of destruction in other countries as well, from Romania to Poland.
A series of earthquakes have rattled parts of South America and Taiwan over the weekend. Now let's start in Chile. A magnitude 5.8 earthquake struck the Coquimbo region on Sunday. The quake, which was at a depth of 38 kilometers, caused no immediate reports of damage. Moving to Argentina, a stronger earthquake measuring 5.6 or measuring 6, magnitude 6, shook the San Luis region on Saturday. And this one was deeper, occurring at a depth of 129 kilometers below the Earth's surface. Across the Pacific, Taiwan was also hit by seismic activity. A magnitude 5.3 earthquake struck the sparsely populated East Coast county of Hualien. Now, the quake was felt in the capital, Taipei. Fortunately, there were no immediate reports of damage. Taiwan is a seismically active region located near the junction of two tectonic plates, and this latest earthquake is just one of many that have struck the island in recent years. A tragic mass shooting rocks the vibrant city of Birmingham, Alabama. As authorities scramble to apprehend the perpetrators, the community grapples with the devastating consequences of the violence. Take a look. The recent mass shooting in Birmingham, Alabama, has left the city reeling. On a typical weekend night, the neighborhood, known for its lively mix of restaurants and bars, is buzzing with activity. However, the tranquility was shattered when gunfire erupted, leaving at least 4 people dead and 17 injured. Witnesses describe hearing a barrage of shots, followed by a brief pause before more rounds were fired. The chaos quickly drew the attention of law enforcement, who arrived on the scene in force.
We believe that approximately over 100 shell casings were collected, along with numerous other pieces of evidence.
According to authorities, the attack was a targeted assault that tragically resulted in innocent bystanders being caught in the crossfire.
Approximately 21 people were shot. 4 of those are deceased. They were taken to various hospitals, and the ATF and FBI were on scene with us, assisting in that investigation. We believe this was a targeted shooting.
Investigators believe that multiple individuals were involved in the shooting and that one of the suspects may have used a modified weapon capable of automatic fire. As the city mourns the loss of life, police now are urging the public to come forward with any information that may lead to the arrest of those responsible.
We believe the individual that was targeted is among the deceased. We believe that there was a hit, if you will, on that particular person, as far as, someone was willing to pay money to have that person killed. We just have that information from some of the information we've learned in the last few hours of investigation. I mean, that could change, but that's where we're at right now.
The investigation is ongoing, and authorities are working tirelessly to piece together the events surrounding this tragic incident. A Michigan police officer made an unusual traffic stop about a week ago, and it happened when she leaned out of the window of a moving vehicle to help a driver experience a medical issue. Crisan Fragata reports.
This is something you expect to see on the big screen, not in real life. It started last Thursday. You can see the story unfolding on the screen. Macomb County Sheriff's deputies spotted a slow-moving truck driving erratically. They tried to pull it over, but the 63-year-old man driving it didn't stop. So deputies pulled alongside the truck, which was going about 8 kilometers an hour. The driver appeared to be in a daze, unable to comprehend the request. Eventually, the driver rolled down his window and briefly hit his brakes. An officer who had been in the passenger side of the patrol vehicle was able to exit the window and climb into the truck, while the 2 vehicles continued moving slowly. You can see the body cam footage here. Once the officer was inside the truck, she was able to stop the vehicle. She then called a family member to confirm the driver's medical condition.
Where's your car? You good? You okay? Is this parked?
The Clinton Township Fire Department arrived on the scene and began treating the driver. Paramedics took him to the hospital for further medical care. Crisan Fragata for Net 25 World News.
Amid the rise of violence in Ontario elementary and secondary schools, educators and the province's opposition party are calling for action to address the crisis. Net 25's Yolanda Aspiras has that story.
There is an alarming increase in violence in Ontario elementary and high schools. Ontario education workers, alongside the opposition party of the province, the NDP, are calling for the provincial government to address this week. In a press conference, Monica Melo Manchin, an educational assistant, described the violence she and her co-workers regularly receive from students. She has been kicked, punched, spat on, beat, and has had pieces of furniture thrown at her. Last year, it was reported that 77% of elementary teachers said that they have personally experienced violence or witnessed violence against another staff while in schools. Earlier this week, a grade 12 student was grazed in the head by a bullet in a Scarborough High School parking lot. NDP education critic Chandra Pasma says that the Ford government has cut an underfunded education across Ontario and that the students are paying the price. Yolanda Aspiras, Toronto, Ontario, for Net25 World News.
Now, when will world leaders realize there's always a microphone nearby? Now, President Biden experienced that firsthand during a recent Quad summit in Delaware's strategic alliance between the U.S., Japan, Australia, and India. While China wasn't directly mentioned in the public remarks, did the conversation change behind closed doors? It sure did. Once reporters were escorted out, President Biden was overheard commenting on China. Now, what did he say?
We believe Xi Jinping is looking to focus on domestic economic challenges and minimize the turbulence in China diplomatic relationships, and he's also looking to buy himself some diplomatic space, in my view, to aggressively pursue China's interest. China continues to behave aggressively, testing us all across the region, and it's true in the South China Sea, the East China Sea, South Asia, and the Taiwan Straits.
While the Quad's official statement avoided directly mentioning China, is countering Beijing's influence still a key part of their discussions? Absolutely. The group is working together on multiple issues: climate change, renewable energy, and advancements in agriculture through robotics. But maritime security remains a top concern. Now, next year, they plan to launch an observer group and a training program to tackle aggressive actions in the South China Sea. How likely is a direct confrontation between the United States and China in the near future? Well, the Quad statement also condemned North Korea's recent missile tests and cyber activity and expressed concern about Russian military support for the North. To counter these threats, the alliance is stepping up its efforts to provide security technologies to the Pacific Islands and Southeast Asia.
4 years later, our four countries are more strategically aligned than ever before. And today, we're announcing a series of initiatives to deliver real, positive impact for the Indo-Pacific that includes providing new maritime technologies to our regional partners so they know what's happening in their waters, launching cooperation between coast guards for the first time.
Additionally, the Quad has introduced a health initiative to combat cervical cancer. Analysts and officials say Biden hosting the Quad is part of efforts to institutionalize the body ahead of his departure from office, and that of Kishida, who is stepping down after a leadership contest next week, and elections in Australia by next year.
最後となる今回の外国出張において参加するに最もふさわしい会合であると思っています。我々を取り巻く安全保障環境は一層厳しさを増しており、法の支配に基づく自由で開かれた国際秩序が脅かされています。そのような中、自由、民主主義といった価値を共有する日米豪印4カ国が自由で開かれたインド太平洋 FOIP という共通のビジョンへの強固なコミットメントを国際社会に示し続けていくこと、ますます重要となります。
Unlike some international forums, the Quad it doesn't have a long history. That means it's not defined by tradition, but it also means it's not confined by it. It means that as it develops, it can evolve. And that is, I believe, what is happening.
Asked about the group's staying power, Biden said this.
Challenges will come, the world will change, because the Quad is here to stay, I believe, here to stay.
Tensions in the Middle East are reaching dangerous new heights as the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah escalates, with both sides launching attacks and issuing threats of further violence. Overnight, Hezbollah fired more than 100 rockets, missiles, and drones at Israel, striking deeper into Israeli territory than before, including areas near Haifa. 3 people were injured, and Israeli hospitals shifted into wartime
mode. In retaliation, Israel launched new strikes near the border targeting Hezbollah positions. Israeli military spokesperson Avichai Adrai warned of imminent airstrikes on houses in Lebanon used to store Hezbollah weapons. Spokesperson Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari called on residents of South Lebanon to keep away from Hezbollah posts.
Shortly, the IDF will engage in extensive precise strikes against terror targets which have been embedded widely throughout Lebanon. We ask residents of Lebanese villages to pay attention to the message and warning published by the IDF and heed them. This is an advance warning for your own safety and the safety of your family. We advise civilians from Lebanese villages located in and next to buildings and areas used by Hezbollah for military purpose, such as those used to store weapons, to immediately move out of harm's way for their own safety. I want to repeat, move out of harm's way immediately.
Yes, I am, but we're going to do everything we can to keep a wider war from breaking out. And we're still pushing hard. Thank you.
Meanwhile, Israeli authorities have ordered the Qatar-based news network Al Jazeera to halt operations for 45 days. Earlier today, Israeli forces raided the network's offices in the West Bank, where Al Jazeera had already been prohibited from operating.
هذا اعتداء سافر على قناة الجزيرة وشبكة الجزيرة والعاملين فيها وعلى حرية التعبير وعلى نقل الحقيقة اعتداء هدفه طمس الحقيقة.
Turning now to Europe, at least 16 civilians, including a 15-year-old boy, were injured in Russian airstrikes on Zaporizhia late Sunday. Ukrainian officials reported this, and Governor Ivan Fedorov said the attacks damaged 13 buildings, schools, cars, and homes, with preliminary reports suggesting the use of guided bombs. Meanwhile, Ukraine's offensive in Russia's Kursk region had killed 31 civilians and injured 256 as of September 5, according to Russia's foreign ministry. Now, Russia stated that 131,000 civilians have evacuated from the region. Both nations deny targeting civilians despite the heavy toll since the war started in February 2022. Meanwhile, in Iran, a major rescue operation is underway after one of the worst mining disasters in the country's history. At least 50 people have been killed, 20 others injured, following an explosion about 335 miles southeast of Tehran. And officials say a methane gas leak caused the blast. Sri Lanka's newly elected leftist president, Anura Kumara Dissanayake, assumed office on Monday, promising change in a nation long dominated by powerful political families. His election followed a period of economic turmoil, with millions of Sri Lankans supporting his anti-corruption agenda and commitment to economic recovery. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena resigned ahead of the swearing-in to accommodate the new prime minister and cabinet. This transition comes after former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's departure amid widespread protests due to the economic crisis, which led to shortages and a debt default.
The economic crisis and what led to the people's movement are key indicators that people wanted a change. And that message was very much articulated in 2022 in wanting to see a change in political culture which kind of saw high corruption and nepotism. And that seems to have been captured in the messages and the manifestos that we saw in the NPP and the Anura Kumara Dissanayake campaign slogans. So really it's kind of tapping into what people were feeling in 2022 and really capturing the people's imagination that change is possible with this new formation that is the NPP.
And the news continues here on Net 25 World News. We'll be right back.
Hi friends! Ako po si Candy Pangilinan at bibisita po ako sa Lutong Gasa. At magluluto kami ng boiled okra, ginataang kalabasa at sitaw. watermelon salad, at ang gisado ampalaya. But itong ampalaya, bakit daw ito bitter? Kas daw, hindi kasama sa bahay kubo. Tawang-tawa. Ouch! Ouch! O tandaan niyo, lutong dasa, 11 a.m. Saturday na 25. Kita tayo.
Let's get together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
This Sunday on Cine Throwback.
Kimba, let's go.
Many animals are here as well.
What? They're using the trees as armor. Burn the trees!
Huh? What is happening to the sun right now?
Well, I certainly am glad all of this ended well with the humans.
As long as they respect nature, all will be well.
This Sunday, 12 noon, here on Net 25.
Let's get together. Sunday 25.
Magpapaliwanag ako mamaya.
Ngayon ka magpaliwanag.
Okay?
Sabi mo na sa meeting ka.
Pag madali ka magtiwala at may manloloko, hindi mo talaga mamamalayan.
Dahil sa traidor niyang ex, mawawala kay Shane ang lahat.
Ito na ba yung design natin ngayong season?
Opo. Ginaya nila.
At nagmana pa siya ng mga problema.
Demand letter.
Huh? Mr. Shen, idedemanda ko sila.
Pagbibigyan ba siya ng
Dito na lahat?
big-time CEO na si Johnny Song?
Start na tayo.
O labanan ba ito ng mga matitigas ang ulo? Love Designer, weeknight 7:30 p.m. Dito lang sa Net 25.
Let's get together. Sunday 25.
Welcome back. A stolen historical treasure is finally coming home to Canada after a surprising journey. And the details of this remarkable story, including the identity of the missing item and its fascinating story, or fascinating backstory, here it is. Watch this.
This iconic photograph of Winston Churchill is heading back home to Canada. It was stolen from a landmark hotel in Ottawa more than 2 years ago. The so-called Roaring Lion ended up thousands of miles away in Italy. On Thursday, Italy gave it back.
The Roaring Lion is a 20th century treasure.
Isabelle Mondieu is Canada's Deputy Minister of Canadian Heritage. Armenian-Canadian photographer Yusuf Karsh captured the image in 1941. Britain's World War II leader had just given a speech to the Canadian Parliament. Mondieu says Karsh tried to capture Churchill's defiance and what she described as the indomitable spirit of Britain during the war.
It launched the international career of Yusuf Karsh, and it has since become one of the most widely reproduced images of the history of photography.
For years, the image was displayed in the Fairmont Chateau Laurier. Karsh had a studio there. The hotel says he lived there for a while, too. But in 2022, staff realized the original image had been replaced with a signed copy. The stolen image was auctioned off to an unsuspecting Italian lawyer, Nicola Casanelli.
Because I think that if Mr. Karsh donated it to the hotel, it means that it really wanted it to stay there because of the particular significance this hotel had for him, for his wife too.
Casanelli says he's only received a partial refund for the nearly $7,000 he paid before commission. but at least he has a story to tell. Canadian media say a man has been arrested and charged in the case.
The significance of this portrait to the Fairmont Chateau Laurier extends far beyond its artistic merit.
Hotel director Genevieve Dumas says the plan is to put the portrait back where it belongs.
We look forward to the return of the roaring lion to its rightful place on the walls of the Fairmont Chateau Laurier in Ottawa, where it will once again be admired by visitors around the world.
The latest CDC data paints a concerning picture of the nation's health according to 2023 figures. 1 in 3 adults in the United States is now obese. This alarming statistics marks a significant increase from previous years and is a cause for major concern. Rosel Feria has more on this developing health crisis. Rosel.
That's correct, Alma. And currently, at least 1 in 5 adults in each U.S. state is living with obesity. That is 20% of the adult population in the country. In fact, Director of CDC's National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, Karen Hacker, says there is an urgent need for obesity prevention and treatment options. And these, she says, start with building healthier communities where people of all ages have safe places for physical activity, and also where healthcare and healthy food options are accessible and affordable for all. Hacker adds that obesity prevention at young ages is critical. Why? Because children with obesity often become adults with obesity. Now, aside from the 23 states with the highest adult obesity rates, that's 35% or higher, Guam and Puerto Rico are also in the same boat. Now, how is an individual classified as someone with obesity? CDC describes an adult with obesity as having a body mass index of 30 or higher. Obesity is a disease that can cause many health conditions such as asthma, heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, some cancers, and severe outcomes from respiratory illnesses. And what's equally concerning are the stigma and bias about a person's weight that can cause social and mental health consequences. These include anxiety and even poor body image. Rosel Feria, Washington, D.C. for Net25 News. Back to you, Alma.
Experts often hear the misconception that obesity is solely a matter of individual choice and lack of willpower, Rosel. However, there's a growing body of evidence suggesting that the condition is influenced by a complex interplay of factors. Rosel, what are some of the proven factors that contribute to obesity?
Yes, Alma. CDC's Division of Nutrition, Physical Activity and Obesity Director Dr. Ruth Peterson says obesity is indeed a complex disease and that many factors contribute to it, like genes, certain medications, poor sleep, gut microbiome, stress, access to affordable food, safe places to be active, and access to health care. CDC says truly understanding these factors helps to identify potential prevention and treatment strategies. Back to you, Alma.
Thank you, Rosel, for that informative report. It's clear that addressing the obesity pandemic requires a multifaceted approach that goes beyond individual willpower. Thank you. The launch of Huawei's latest folding phone was met with excitement and frustration. While the device made headlines, many fans were unable to get their hands on one. Why? Take a look.
Huawei's much-anticipated $2,800 folding phone was launched in China on Friday. But many self-described superfans of the Chinese company were left disappointed. The Mate XT is twice the price of Apple's newest iPhone, released on the same day. But it wasn't actually available for walk-in customers. At Huawei's flagship shop in the southern Chinese city of Shenzhen, Bao Chunran was among those who could not buy one. That was after being told only those whose pre-orders had been confirmed could get one of the handsets, which folds 3 ways like a screen door.
I came today specifically to buy the trifold model, and I'm pretty disappointed that I couldn't get one. I was really hoping to try it out in person, but I didn't manage to get a reservation. So I'm very disappointed.
It was a similar story at a Huawei store in Beijing, where access to the phone was also restricted to those whose pre-orders had been confirmed. Analysts had warned that supply chain constraints could leave many potential buyers empty-handed. Some, including this local resident, also questioned the high cost of the phone amid a sluggish economy.
At this price, I think the average person might not be able to afford it. Well, it's not really targeted at the average worker. It's rather aimed at business professionals.
According to analysts, pre-orders for the Mate XT have surpassed 6.5 million. And Huawei's executive director, Richard Yu, said sales were better than expected and the phone sold out, quote, in seconds. He added that the company had turned, quote, science fiction into reality. But it seems owning the phone still remains in the realm of fantasy for many.
And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on Net 25, I'm Alma. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow. Good night.